So if you're watching this right when I upload it, it's probably because you know exactly what this video is going to be about. For those that are discovering this video in the distant future, I thought this might serve as a really interesting time capsule to not just make this video about my holiday sale, and these paintings sort of capture the different things that I've been doing as an artist to get by in different projects. So this is the first painting, painting number 1 of the collection. So this is San Niccolò. This is a monument in Florence on the south side of the River Arno, and it's something that caught my eye immediately when I was there. The rim lighting, the color, the varied temperatures. It's somewhat an encapsulating theme of paintings that I've done, that I've really enjoyed doing, and that have really connected with a lot of people, including my studio painting of the Trevi Fountain. That's also a marble with a really fascinating light effect, and it's a statue, and it's an art piece of someone else's that I'm now hundreds of years later capturing in a painting in a different form. It's very similar to the second painting I have of Florence, which is of Orsan Michel. One of the little alcoves, the outside of the church Orsan Michel, is the first time I ever went to Florence. It was part of the Donald Journey Traveling Fellowship. This is the third piece in the collection. And the second and the third times I went to Florence is actually this year. The second time was on somewhat of a self-imposed project I did at the very beginning of this year. I organized a workshop, I met up with some friends, and I figured out how to make ends meet to cover the trip up front. One of the things in this painting is looking at it sideways. You really see the value structure, you really see how subtle the light effect is, just a very subtle hierarchy of what is lighter, what is dark. This was a different painting, upshot of the Duomo, inspired by a Sargent watercolor, a Venetian watercolor of the Salute. A lot of these paintings, I was actually recording the full process. You see the Duomo out there in the background. This was a really fun nocturne, which was also painted with a bunch of friends. What this past trip visiting Florence in October didn't actually schedule a workshop this time around, but it was more of a self-initiated project of going to Florence, recording the process of all of these paintings. I have the footage of all of these paintings now. This is Santissima Annunziata. Really striking colors and textures and light, dark shadow patterns. So now I have all the footage of that, and that sort of ties into another aspect of what's been one of the big things that I've been doing this year. This is the last painting of Florence, the Ponte Vecchio. Classic view. You have the obvious infamous Ponte Vecchio, and on the side what is a little bit less recognizable, but if you know, you know, you'll recognize the Uffizi. All of these were recorded, and a big part of this year, a big first of this year, was putting out my Patreon and putting out more and more YouTube videos and actually doing demos online and talking while I paint and make a recording of that and make that accessible. Not everyone can take an in-person workshop, though the in-person workshops this year were a lot of fun. I had one in Florence in May, and in June I had one in Venice, and it was also a ton of fun. And then I had a seascape workshop in September, which brings me to the next collection of paintings that I have. So these are seascape paintings. So I really like this painting. The use of texture, the varying rhythms leading into the painting. This painting started as a demo for my seascape painting workshop. So aside from starting the Patreon, aside from making and selling my own paintings, workshops were another big thing. They have allowed me to travel. This seascape workshop was kind of close to home. I live in New Jersey. This was off season, September, met up with a bunch of people on the shore, composing paintings. This was a painting that I really enjoyed the composition of. It's rare that I have such a big element in the foreground. Oftentimes, my foreground elements in the seascapes are a bit more muted, and it's really what's happening in the middle ground. But I tried to really open up that foreground and create more dynamic composition. Also a demo from that same seascape workshop. But it's not just seascape workshop paintings. This is Lapis Seas, I believe, number 11. So this was a painting that I did for myself. Some people say when you start getting paid for something, you actually stop enjoying doing it. And sometimes that's been the case this year. There's definitely been parts of this year that I've felt like work and that have been hard and I just had to push through. But there are still a lot of times where I enjoy painting for myself. I like to go out painting on my own when given the time, given the opportunity, given that the weather is beautiful. Well, when we get to do that, it's always pleasant. We've got 2 more seascapes that I have available. So this one, I believe I titled it Sandy Hook Crescendo. In some ways it's a special piece because this is the first piece that, the demo of this piece, I recorded it You guys might have seen this painting already on my YouTube channel. This was the first full-length tutorial that I offered up on my Patreon. It's just another one of those little baskets that I've had going on this year, figuring out, okay, what can I do? What can I provide? How do I figure out this career as an artist? And so a couple other of these paintings, especially in the next section, are also going to be Patreon demos. It's going to be interesting to look back on these paintings in a few years, maybe look back on this video, see where I was, see, looking back from the future, and you know, maybe things will change a lot. Maybe things will only change a little. Who knows? The last painting, this is Crests and Peaks. Very sunny painting, very blue skies. That blue of the sky permeates throughout the entire painting. And this is another Patreon workshop. This is a lesson in green. I thought it would make a really interesting demo for my Patreon subscribers to just paint green and see how that would go. So likewise, this was a really lovely fall piece that I did just a couple weeks ago. I think I did it a few days before Thanksgiving. This piece is from the end of June. So this is a really interesting sunset piece. This was painted alongside with a friend, a contemporary. This was painted up in Old Lyme, Connecticut. At the time I was teaching a workshop through the Lyme Academy. I was painting alongside my friend Tyler Berry. He was doing his portrait workshop at the day. We met up in the evening to go paint, and it was a lot of fun chatting and painting away. I was looking across the river right behind the garden of the Florence Griswold, looking into the sun as it set down. I really enjoy painting these effects of light in the water and just the dark atmosphere. You can make out a little bit of the tops of the reeds here. Other paintings I have include Niagara Falls, small family trip, and this is one of my workshop demos from the Florence Griswold. The Florence Griswold is actually that yellow building down there. Behind it, there's this barn on the right-hand side. I don't teach anywhere full-time, but this year, a big part of my year has been teaching, has been educational in one way or another, from workshops to YouTube to Patreon to some of the one-on-one mentoring that I've also been doing, New York City demos. So Brooklyn Bridge, that was a very fun painting. It sort of reminded me of some paintings of James Abbott, McNeill Whistler, or Claude Monet's. So sunlight dappled on the pond. Interesting uses of composition, color, depicting different material, depicting water. And then the next few are also some more typical pastoral landscapes. These paintings are just a couple that I have yet to mount, and it's just that I haven't mounted them. They're gonna sell. It's gonna be really easy to mount them using the mounting process I was sharing in my last video. You know, very similar. Looking across the Long Meadow in Prospect Park. Late summer bloom. Pond, a lot of algae, made for some really interesting effects in there. And the last little collection that I have is from a plein air festival. For me, as an artist interested in the landscape, classically trained, there's a big overlap, obviously painting outside, painting from life, while stylistically my work doesn't always look like all the artists in these plein air festivals. It's something that I've applied to, something that I've been accepted in. When you apply and get accepted into these plein air festivals, they often find a host, find accommodation for you to go. And I thought painting in Sedona was a really great idea, and it would be really, really fun. I applied and I got in, and you're painting for about a week, and then at the end there's a sale. And so these are some smaller paintings that did not sell this year, and now I'll be able to offer them through my holiday studio sale. I was walking down the hill from the airport vista down this little path. This mountain was sloping down, and as the sun was rising, the lights started shining on the tops of the trees, on tops of the mountains. There's still a heavy mist from some controlled burns earlier that week. Other paintings I captured, this was Oak Creek, a little small creek that runs through Sedona, often very shaded, often very cool because of the running water. There was some really fun dappled lighting, really built up some of these impastos and some of the textures on this painting in particular. And this was actually on a smooth panel. You see the little Sedona plein air sticker on the back. I was a little bit inspired by some of the other artists I'd see. Great thing about plein air festivals, and it mirrors other things that I've done in the past, such as the Hudson River Fellowship, or just trying to find a community of artists, trying to find people to paint with. I think as an artist, it's been really important for me to find other people to paint with and to riff off of and see what they're doing, and maybe take some inspiration, take some influence from that, maybe try some new things myself. That was one of the pluses of attending an event like the Plein Air Sedona. You get to see a bunch of artists, you get to see all the amazing art they make, and it's a little inspiring. This was a paint out It's called Coffee Pot. So apparently that thing, this looks like a coffee pot, and this would be the little spout. And then the last one that I have of the original paintings, so this one, there's some heavy atmosphere in this. This one is titled Snoopy Rock, because if you look closely here on the right-hand side, this is what Snoopy Rock is. It sort of resembles Charlie Brown's Snoopy lying on his little doghouse thing. This was one of the paintouts. There's a really deep atmosphere that morning. It's the type of atmosphere which condenses everything in value. It unifies everything. It organizes everything into very clear, crisp layers. Between the background of this painting of the far hills over here in the back and the middle ground of this painting of Snoopy, this larger rock formation and some of the slopes, and then in the foreground, these lighter passages. And I really like how that came out. If I counted right, 27 original paintings. All these paintings are available in my holiday studio sale. It's going live on Friday, and it's going to be open to the public on Saturday, and it's gonna end after Sunday. It's the fourth sale that I've done. The first one I did was last August, and I did one at the beginning of this year and in the middle of just the European pieces, and this is the last sale to round out the year. I found doing these studio sales to be probably the most beneficial thing for me as an actual artist. I have to admit, going into art school, trying to be an artist, I was kind of going in it blind and naive and thinking everything would be all right, and not actually realizing how much work it would be. But through a lot of different avenues, taking self-directed trips, doing online content, doing Patreon, doing YouTube, doing in-person workshops, doing one-on-one mentorships, still managing to carve out time to paint for myself. It's been a wild year, and it's pretty amazing to be able to continue doing it. The last thing that I want to talk about is this big puppy over here. This is a painting I finished quite recently, and it represents one of the last things I've tried doing this year. This is a 25 by 30 painting of the Trevi Fountain. It's based on a plein air painting that I started when I was in Italy earlier this year. Painting itself, I wanted to push myself. I don't want to reserve my entire artistic career to just making small paintings, but there are bigger paintings that I want to make, the things that I want to explore in my paintings. Making this painting was very important to satisfy myself. I've seen my friends doing really great, really ambitious, bigger paintings. I wanted to see what I could get out of myself if I really pushed myself, but partly because I want something to fit in this frame, and also partly I think it's important to keep some of your best work. I decided that I'm also going to be offering prints available, and so these prints are going to be for this sale only. They're going to be the full size, so 30 inches by 25 inches plus the 1-inch borders all around, or at a reduced size, which comes out to the total print being just under 20 by 24. Same proportions, not stretching or cutting anything off, just shrinking it down to make the print a little bit more affordable. These prints are only available for this holiday studio sale. This will be a limited edition, a limited release. Every print will be signed, numbered. The Trevi Fountain will be available in 2 sizes. And the last painting that will be available as a print is this. This is my painting of Fairfield Farms from the Hudson River Fellowship. This painting, the full size, is 15 by 19 inches. As a plein air, it's one of my best plein air paintings of this year. As a more classical pastoral landscape, I think between the clouds, between the sense of atmosphere, between my attention to detail in the foreground, I think this is also one of my strongest paintings of the year. And also as a print, it's going to be available on the full size, and it's going to be one of the more affordable prints. And the last thing that I should touch on, speaking about some of the artistic experiences, what are the things that I've actually been doing this year as an artist to get by? How do I keep myself busy? What are the projects I've been working on? That painting was from an experience with the Hudson River Fellows at the Hudson River Fellowship. It's somewhat like an artist residency. It's a bunch of artists coming together, painting together for 3. It's somewhat similar to the camaraderie that you get in a great art academy, where there's a great community and everyone's there painting day in, day out. They're trying to get better. They're trying to figure out this. They're trying to figure out that. That also has been one of the important things that I've tried to do, that I've tried to search for in my life. And one of the important things about being an artist is not doing it alone. And whether it's doing painting trips with friends, whether it's doing artist residencies, whether it's doing plein air festivals and meeting people there. Even when it comes to workshops, even when it comes to my students, teaching has been another really great source of community for me. And it's something that I intend to do a lot more of. And all the workshops that I've done this year, I've done 7 of them, and they've been immensely fun. So a lot of these paintings, some of them are workshops, some of them are Patreon demos, some personal pieces, some pieces that were just painted with friends, some that were meant for a much bigger project that is still in the works of all those recordings of Florence, working and figuring out on how to get all these things coming together. And all of these original paintings, one of a kind, these are available. If you are watching this video, you probably already have the catalog to flip through and the price list. The early access is out Friday, 5 p.m. Eastern. Public access this Saturday, December 9th, noon Eastern. For the next 36 hours, it's open to the public. Check out the sale, maybe buy a painting, maybe buy a print. A lot of moments in this past year where I've just been pinching myself because I was like, am I really doing this? Is this actually working out? I'm not extremely successful. Things have been working out, and that's pretty cool. But that's it. Thanks for watching the video. Hope that was interesting. Maybe it was interesting from a collector's point of view to hear me discuss about the art. Maybe this video is still interesting for posterity to sort of serve as a timeline to really practically show you what life's sort of been like as an artist, like first full real year. It's been pretty cool. So thanks for watching and see you around.